Hello everybody, I'm back again. Hopefully ironed out the wrinkles from earlier on, and hopefully somebody will be joining along in a moment. So let's get the pages up that we want. Share those, and now we'll go over to this one. And this is the picture that we started off with earlier on and had our problems with. So hopefully you can see what that is. I don't want to remove this bit for a moment. So as you can see, it's a picture of a lion's head, and written here is the Lion of Judah. And I'll just give you a bit of a rundown on how I come to do this video. I've been reading in my book about the Jordan River and Abraham and all the travels that they had around in Israel, and I started to notice that there was something strange about the rivers that flow into the Jordan River. Now, coincidentally, the Jordan, for those who don't know, its name is originally the Yarden, and the Hebrew meaning of that is descend, or to descend, because it flows, as we know, from north to south, from its sources in up near Mount Hermon, coincidentally, and ends up in the Dead Sea. So that's a brief little rundown on the background of it. So I bet you're all dying to know what's under this picture. Well, if you do this, it goes back to that. Just buzz that in and out a few times so you can see what that looks like. So what that is there is like irrigational sort of growing land, I suppose, or it's divided up into all those different segments, and this is actually, we'll see in a moment, let me if I can get that moving. This is actually the Dead Sea there. You can see. Here it is. So the head that I overlaid was on this part here. And it's almost like I could just see the shape of the lion's head and the lion's snout and the jaw line there. And coming down here, it'll almost, if you compare the maps that I'm going to go on to in a little moment, you'll see that this is narrowed down a bit to what it originally was a few centuries back, or millennia anyway. But basically the shape is kept the same. And if I zoom that back in again, you'll get a more of a zoomed out image of what that looks like. So, the Jordan River. What we've got to do now is flip it around, I think, or we'll actually zoom back this way. And we'll go on a little tour of the Jordan River. Starting about here. So, this place here right. This map, I'm going to have to spin it around because it's a bit disorientating trying to do it upside down. Oops. Sorry about that. So, let's just make sure we're straight and lined up. North to south, that'll do. So what I'm going to do now is start off at the northern end, and we'll go over to this other map that I've got here in a moment, and you'll see that, oops, sorry about that. Here we have Mount Hermon up at the top, and then coming down the initial sources of the Jordan River, it actually starts off with three rivers that make up the Jordan River. One is the Atzbani River, which is this one on the left here. See if I can zoom that in a bit. Might go a bit squiggly, the picture. Oh, don't need that. And the one in the center is the Dan River, which is 12 miles long. And the river on the right hand side is the Banaeus River. And all those have their source on Mount Hermon. So there's three sources, right? Three sources. Now you can't really see on this map, but if we go back to Google Earth again, this is where we were. This is Mount Hermon over here somewhere. Somewhere around here. Over here, I believe. If that's not it, it must be. Let's come out of that again. I've gone over too far, sorry about that. Still trying to get the hang of Google Earth. There we are, we was in the wrong place. Might still be in the wrong place, where is it gone? I think it's in those mountains there actually. Just gotta wait for this to load up. It's a bit slow, but anyway, this is Mount Hermon here. So the rivers actually flow in these valleys here. One runs down here, one comes from in there, and the other one comes down through this one and runs into here somewhere. Sure, I'm back in the right line of direction. So here we are. This is the Jordan River as it flows. So you have the three rivers that come down from the mountain, and they actually form this river here. It winds itself through the valley and heads down through all these arable fields. It actually branches off into two and joins and joins itself in the first section from Mount Hermon to what was originally called Lake Merom or Lake HalaluYah, which on the map that we're looking at now, it isn't really visible, but it was actually in this green area here. This was actually like a swamp area. If we go over to my other map here, you'll see this. This is the area we're looking at. HalaluYah Basin, it's called on this map. But originally the name was Wadi Merom, because it was like a swamp. So you have the three sources coming into it, which then branches into two, which then goes into one. So when you think of back in the garden, you had the three different ingredients in the garden. You had man, you had woman, and you had the serpent. So if you use that as the analogy of the three, that then forms the two, which then forms the one. Remember, the Jordan River is the life-giving river that they all had to cross. All the patriarchs had to cross over somewhere down here and head through the land, going to Abraham, going down into Egypt, and Joseph and Jacob and all those. Excuse me. Oh, I need a drink. Ah, that's better. They all sort of crossed over at this same sort of point here on this Jabuk River, or the Yarmouth River, the Yarmuk River, which is this one here. I know this writing's a bit fuzzy here, whether you've got the Jabuk River down here and the Yarmuk River up here. So three going into two and then into one, then flowing through the Sea of Galilee, which is this one here, and this is where Christ was, or the Saviour had a lot of his ministering around this area here, around Galilee. Nazareth is over here somewhere. So if I zoom out from my map here, try and get it back. Ooh, I don't want to draw a line. Ooh. I get rid of that. I don't want a marker. I'll have a clear one. Need to just zoom out a bit. Right. Okay, hopefully you can. That's about the best view we're going to get of it, I think. This isn't going all according to plan, I'm afraid. But as you can see here, we've got the writing in red, and we've got the writing in yellow, and we've got the names in green and black. So coincidentally, as it would be, along this east bank of the Jordan, which is where Abraham would have come from, in the direction he was coming from, into the promised land, you have these, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have nine names, right? 9 names on the east bank. This is the west bank, this is the east bank. 9 names and 9 actual water sources coming into the Jordan from this side. There's a few little rivulets because I've looked at this quite closely, but I can't seem to find a map that actually shows it that clear, which is why I was going to go on to Google Earth, but it's rather quite difficult to try and maneuver about with that at the moment. So you can all check this out for yourselves. So on this side you have the 9, and on this side you have the 4. Now hang on a minute, you're all probably thinking, why is there 13? Well, Jacob had 12, if you remember, 12 sons, but he also had a daughter called Dinah. So if you look here, and I've gone through the word to confirm this all. So you have number 1. So Leah was the first one to conceive a child, because Rachel couldn't at that point. So bearing in mind that from the two wives that he had, because Zilpah and Bilpah were both handmaids of these two, Leah and Rachel. So it works out that if we put Leah on the east bank and Rachel and her children on the west bank, it works out that the first river or water course that comes in, excuse me, I'm just going to read this off my notes so I don't mess anything up. So you have that Yarmouk River, which is the first river that comes in on the east bank. So that equates to Reuben. Then you have number 2, which is the second water course that comes in, which isn't actually a river, but it's what they call a wadi, and it's called Wadi al-Arab, coincidentally, and that is Shimeon, which was the second child of Leah. Then you have number 3, which is Levi, which is the third water course flowing into the Jordan on the east bank, north to south, which is Wadi Ziglar, or Ziglal, I think. A bit of a strange word to pronounce, but Ziglal. So that was number 3. Then number 4 is another child by Leah, which was Yehuda, or Judah. Then it actually skips over to the other side, because that's when Rachel's handmaid, Bilpah or Bilpha, conceived and gave birth to Dan, which is the little watercourse that comes in at this green dot here, just south of the Sea of Galilee. Then you have number 6, Naphtali, which is the next watercourse on the west bank. Then it switches back over again to number 7, which is the child of Zilphar again, and that's Gad on this side, on the east bank again. Then you have Asher, which is another child of Zilphar again. On the right hand side as we're looking at it, which is the east bank, which would equate to being what one was we? Number 8. Number 8. That's Asher. Then it goes to number 9, which is Leah again, and that equates to this river. And these are the main rivers. They're only highlighting here the main rivers that flow in, but all these individual other ones, like I said, are only mentioned as wadis, which is basically a stream. So number 9 again was Issachar, which equates on the map to the Jabbok River. Number 10 on the same side again is Zebulon, and that one is called Wadi Shu'aib, Wadi Shu'aib, or Wadi Shu'ab. Number 10. The next one is number 11, which represents Dinah, which is the last one from Leah's side of the river. And we haven't got a name for that one, but it flows from the town of Shittim. And the next one in descending order is number 12, which is a child of Rachel again, which is Joseph, which is this one here, and his river is turn my map round. It runs in the Jezreel Valley. Number 13 is Benjamin, which is the last child of Jacob, Israel, and that watercourse that is assigned to him is Wadi Farah, and that's the last one on the west bank. So I've checked it out. I've spent a couple of days going over this and comparing different maps and everything else, and it is what it is. There's the same amount of water courses in that stretch of the Jordan River as there are descendants of Israel, Jacob. And the name of the Jordan River means descend or descendant, which is what they are. And so they all, or the water, they all pour their water into the Jordan River, which eventually flows into the Dead Sea. Now, this is how deep this stuff goes, because if you think of it as just a river or just water, as some people would do, then it's always going to be just water. But if you know that the Saviour's line runs through the people we've just been describing, not through all of them, but through certain ones, then it makes sense that the living water that flows from the beginning, from where it all began at Mount Hermon, running through the Sea of Galilee, running through the Jordan River that all the Hebrew Israelites had to at some point cross over to be called Hebrew Israelites, and to then end up in the Dead Sea, which is, for those of you who know about the Dead Sea, let me go back to my other Google map. So we're going to follow this down a bit. I know this video is a bit jumbled, but it's quite difficult to present this stuff and try and keep your thoughts straight and everything in the right order and everything else like this, and operate all this stuff. It's beyond me really, but I try and do my best. So here it is flowing through there, and this is where all these rivulets run through. You can't really see them here, but if I zoom in a bit, you can see. You can see here. So you have these little rivulets that eventually end up in little sort of streams, but we're talking the major things that actually flow into the river, like this one here and this one here. There's another one there. And another one there. And it winds itself down, eventually ending up in the Dead Sea, full of salt. No life at all in the Dead Sea, strangely enough. No life at all. Not anything, just salt, because I've actually been there. I was fortunate to go when I was a lot younger than I am now, although at the time I wasn't anywhere near being into things as much as I am now. Actually floated in it. It's really quite strange. It's like being on a lilo or something, and you just float there, but you can't actually, even if you try and push your legs down, it's really quite difficult because of the salt content. So knowing that around this area here, at the bottom of the Dead Sea, this is where Sodom and Gomorrah would have been, or Sodom, Saddam and Amorah is actually the proper Hebrew sounding name for it. So Lot's wife was turned to a pillar of salt down here at the bottom of the Dead Salt Sea. And so thinking about that, you know, we're all made up of water. We're like 70% water, aren't we? But we are the salt of the earth. You know, all these things just start churning away in my head, and you know, I have to try and discover what the real meaning and the real reasoning behind all of this. Why do people say what they do, and why are things called what they are? So that's about all I think I've got for you on that. So the tribe of the Lion of Judah actually does run through that section there. All 12 descendants of Jacob, Israel, in the form of water, the life-giving water of the Jordan. So, sorry it's all been a bit muddled, and obviously somebody doesn't want this information to flow smoothly, no pun intended, but it's just me and you, Becca, by the looks of things. Oh, and T. Fisher's in. Shalom to you all who've been watching. Normally there's just us three at the movies, or a handful of us anyway. No popcorn or peanuts. But I don't know, it just, sometimes it's hard to come to terms with the fact that, am I the only person who sees this stuff? I don't know anybody else who's come up with this stuff, so I'm either some total nutcase, Fruit Loop, or this stuff is supposed to be shown, I suppose. So anyway, with all the crazy stuff in the world that other people are trying to face up to, what with Trumps and planes and boats and trains and whatever, I just can't be dealing with all of that. So I find it's an escape. It's like the closest I can get to being in heaven is by researching all this stuff and digging into it, not in the physical sense, but in the information sense of the knowledge. And hopefully by doing it, you know, and trying to present it as best as I can, and giving all praise to the Most High for showing this stuff to me, through me, so that you people can all glean something from it and hopefully help your walk a bit better. That's all I'm trying to do. So um, on this Shabbat day, it's in the UK, I believe. So all praise the Most High and keep living righteous. I'm going to try and get a few more of my final paleo symbols done before YouTube pulls the Hangouts. Hopefully I'll get another couple done, but if not, I'll have to try and devise some other way of doing it, either on my sort of pre-made videos that I upload. But I'll see what I can get done anyway. Time is running short. Much love to everybody. Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks, T. Fisher, for watching, and anybody else who comes along to watch later. May you all be blessed. Continue to live righteous. Shalom.